Good morning, it's Friday morning, 8 minutes past 10. Welcome to 5 Live, and this morning in an exclusive interview with 5 Live, a young British man who claims to be fighting for a group linked to Al-Qaeda in Syria has been explaining why he's left behind his family in the south of England to join a battle thousands of miles from home. The man, who says he's in his 20s, also says he will only return to the UK to raise, as he puts it, the black flag of Islam over Downing Street and Buckingham Palace. He also praises the 7/7 bombers as heroic lions. The man calls himself Abu Osama. It's not his real name. He explained to Nikki how his family felt when he left Britain.
At first it was hard for them to accept because no mother wants to lose her son, but I send them photos and I speak to them about the situation. And now they can understand that this is a good cause. I mean, alhamdulillah.
They're okay with the fact that you might die for the cause?
They're a bit scared, but I tell them we will meet in the afterlife. This is just a temporary separation.
Are they not angry with you? Are they not concerned? Do they not want you to come home and come to your senses?
I am in my senses, and alhamdulillah, they understand. They said, we understand now what you are doing. And my mother said, I have sold you to Allah. I don't want to see you again in this world.
Will you come back to Britain?
No, I have no intention of coming back to Britain because I have come to revive the Islamic Khilafah. I don't want to come back to what I left behind. There is nothing in Britain. It's just pure evil. If and when I come back to Britain, it will be when this Khilafah, this Islamic State, comes to conquer Britain. And I come to raise the black flag of Islam over Downing Street, over Buckingham Palace, over Tower Bridge and over Big Ben.
So what's your daily routine? Do you have a lot of training with arms and so forth, and fitness training to prepare yourself for this warfare?
Yeah, fitness training is an obligation because we need fitness training and military training as well. This is the main purpose of our role here. We do a lot of dawah missionary work with the people. We also make bombs as well. And in Ramadan, as you can imagine, it's very busy.
You said you make bombs?
Yeah, we make bombs as well, yeah.
Bombs to blow people to pieces?
Bombs to blow the enemies of Allah to pieces.
But these are fellow human beings who probably have no responsibility for any such thing at all. They are your brothers and sisters in humanity.
No, the Nusayriya, the army of Bashar, these are not our brothers and sisters.
What about Muslims who are against you? Because many British Muslims listening, most British Muslims, vast majority, law-abiding, peaceful citizens of the United Kingdom, who will be ashamed of what you're saying and will be throwing their arms up in horror and saying, why is this man on the radio? He does not represent us. What he is saying is horrific and should be roundly condemned.
Muslims, they don't need to condemn this. This is, if you look at the early history of Islam, you see that the Prophet fought against those that fought against him. He never fought against those that never fought against the Islamic State.
Just last month, a car bomb explosion claimed by al-Nusra killed at least 34 people.
A car bomb exploded?
Yeah, wounded more than 50 other people in the central Syrian province of Hama. There have been lots of atrocities, lots of innocent people killed. We have the situation with ISIS, that crucifying people and beheading people and torturing people. This is barbaric. This is of another age. This is pure, unadulterated, I'll use the word again, barbarism.
Okay, but where's your evidence that we did this, the Mujahideen did this? We do not kill innocent people.
Al-Nusra have claimed.
If there was a chance to kill 100 soldiers of Bashar and one Muslim would be killed, we would not do it just for the sake of this one Muslim.
So what do you think of people in the United Kingdom who are living here who have this view but have not gone to Syria to perform jihad? For example, the 7/7 bombers.
I totally admire those heroic lions, Muhammad Sadiq Khan and his men. We are building this Islamic State, this Khilafah for
those
Muslims to
heroic lions who blew all those innocent people to pieces, who were going to work on a bus in the morning, who were going to work on the tube. 52 people died. The fact that you call them heroic lions is frankly disgusting.
Okay, then listen. What about those soldiers of yours that kill Muslim civilians in Afghanistan, and then they come back to Wotton Bassett and this other place and they get a parade.
So that's a man who calls himself Abu Osama, not his real name. Speaking to Nikki on Breakfast earlier, we can't verify the man's claims. It's the kind of voice you don't hear very often, so you can make your own judgments. The interview comes on the day over 100 British imams have come together to urge young Muslim men not to travel to Syria, Iraq or anywhere else for that matter to fight alongside extremist groups. In an open letter which will be read out in some mosques later today, they say British Muslim communities should continue to support all those affected by the crisis in Syria and Iraq, but to do so from the UK. Let's talk to one of the people behind the letter now, Imam Qari Asim from the Makkah Mosque in Leeds. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Also, we have various young Muslim men to review what we heard in that interview with the man claiming to be a British jihadi. 24-year-old Usman Nawaz is with us. Hello, Usman.
Good morning.
Also with us, Abdul Qudus, who's 24 as well. Abdul, welcome.
Thank you.
And we've got 23-year-old Rahman. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Very keen to hear you have a conversation about the man who calls himself Abu Osama. Together, actually. Tell us what you think, Usman.
Well, Victoria, I was incredibly disturbed listening to this interview this morning. It literally did make my blood boil. Stuff like heroic lions, the 7-7 bombers, what he said about coming back to Britain only to conquer this country, that he was there to kill for God. The fact that he told his family, and in fact had almost a farewell meeting before he left, and his mum said, well, I've sold you to God. I mean, before coming to this interview, I spoke to my mum and said, well, if I was to say to you, given what's going on in Syria, I wanted to go there and fight jihad. And she turned around and said to me, well, what jihad is going on over there? They're Muslims fighting Muslims. How could you even call that jihad? I'm disturbed that there wasn't a bigger resistance put up by the family, and they didn't report it to the authorities, given that he says that they knew that he was about to go and travel to take part in not jihad, but in fact it's terrorist activity. So I'm incredibly disturbed by what I hear. He's talking about how he's there taking part in this battle, protecting people, but nobody is fighting you. I mean, he was here in this country. No, he wasn't at attack. His family was not under attack. So what is the purpose of him going to take part in a battle in which he has no interest? He should not have...
He wants to live in a Islamic caliphate.
Well, this Islamic caliphate for him is some kind of utopia. Their Islamic caliphate just extends to cutting off hands and enforcing a niqab. It's nothing to do about the social cohesion model that the Prophet Muhammad presented in Medina in his Islamic state. It's nothing to do about building community resilience. It's nothing to do about working with other communities and protecting the rights of minorities. This is not his Islamic caliphate.
Let's bring in Abdul and Rakhmore. Good morning.
Good morning.
Abdul, tell us what you think.
Yeah, I mean, after hearing it, I'm so distressed, and appalled at the fact that someone who claims to be a Muslim, which actually means a person who promotes peace, is doing such things. I mean, he can only be declared as a terrorist, and it's very distressful because we should remember that Islam doesn't teach to be disloyal to your country. In actual fact, the Prophet of Islam has taught that to love your nation is a very integral part of faith. So to be a proper believer, you have to love your nation. And I'm surprised that he's grown up in the UK with British values, and then he's promoting such ridiculous views. Clearly, like the interviewer said, that I think he's lost his senses. He's totally been brainwashed, and he thinks that what he's doing is something that God has commanded him for him to do. I mean,
Rahima, do you know anyone like this here?
I actually don't know anybody like this, but I do agree with some things that he has said, because as a Muslim, it is a brotherhood, and if one of your brothers is hurt, then you will obviously help them. But I feel like because it's over so many years that Muslims have been put down, and we've been marginalized, and we've been killed, and it's only now everyone's looking at it because it's in the media. Like the war in Palestine and against Israel has been going on for so many years. We're only seeing it now because Muslims are starting to fight back. If Muslims were not going to fight back, then obviously we wouldn't be hearing about it. So there are different ways to do a jihad. There are personal jihads, and I feel like myself, I'm supporting what's happening over there, but I do it from over here, supporting the people, civilians who have died by the aid service that goes over with the various charities that help. I don't agree with going over to fight myself, because there are certain other people doing that already, because if that war was to happen in the UK, we would be fighting and we would be asking for other people to help, because the world governments aren't helping them.
Usman, Abdul, talk to Rahima.
Yeah, I totally disagree with this. There's no such thing as jihad with the sword anymore, I don't think. And my brother's, mistaken.
But then you can't say that if people are being killed by drones. You can't say, oh, now we're not going to fight to kill. They're already fighting to kill you.
If I may comment, jihad itself has its own ethos and has principles. Like, for instance, you cannot kill innocent people. You cannot destroy property.
No, but
you cannot
that's the thing,
kill
they're not
women.
pursuing innocent people.
We want to hear what all of you say. If you could avoid talking over each other, that would be wonderful. Qari Asim, I think you were talking then, and Rahima, do come back in.
Yeah, so jihad has its own principle, the concept, and it requires for you to be vigilant, not to kill women, not to kill innocent people, not to kill children, not to destroy property. Now, the war in Syria or Iraq is not a religious war. It has political, cultural, tribal undertones, and as a result, anyone going from here is going to be out of their depth. They don't know which side is oppressing which side. Both sides are there it's a geopolitical war rather than a holy war.
Yeah, jihad itself.
I don't agree with that.
Jihad itself it's basically jihad with the sword does not exist anymore. There is not a place in the world, where people are being oppressed because of their religion. I mean, I think jihad nowadays has to be represented within in itself. You have to, you have to put up with the music that the world presents itself, the negativities of the world, and pray towards God. I mean, that's the real jihad.
Yeah,
of jihad.
I completely agree with that. I mean, these people claiming to create a so-called Islamic State need to firstly create the Islamic state of mind, which is what we're lacking. We're here talking about jihad in the blessed month and the holy month of Ramadan, and the Imam can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one of the 4 holy months of the Islamic calendar in which fighting is not even permitted. So it's quite interesting that we're hearing this interview from and I'm only going to call him a terrorist, from Syria, based in Syria at the moment, talking about jihad and talking about how he's praising other terrorists and thinks that he's doing something noble during the month of Ramadan, in which fighting actually is not even permitted. So these people have an absolutely warped understanding of the text. They don't have any religious grounding. They have grievances which they don't really raise here in a way in which they can be challenged. And I think as a community we need to be doing more to root out these people, to challenge their grievances, to again, I come back to the what I said at the beginning, that if his parents and his family were aware that he was going to travel to take part in this conflict, they should have done more to stop him.
At the moment, we're talking to Imam Qari Asim from the Makkah Mosque in Leeds, also to 24-year-old Usman Nawaz and Abdul Qudus, who is also 24, and 23-year-old Rahima Rahman, about Nikki's exclusive interview with a man calling himself Abu Osama, claiming to be fighting for a group linked to Al-Qaeda in Syria, a British man claiming to be fighting for a group linked to Al-Qaeda in Syria. In the interview, he says the man will only return to Britain to, quote, raise the black flag of Islam over Downing Street and Buckingham Palace. Can I ask you all to discuss how you respond to that threat about returning to raise the black flag?
Now, I don't agree with... Oh, so who's going to go first? Okay, so I don't agree with the fact that he wants to come back and put the black flag over the UK. See, that's the part that I don't agree with. But I do agree with the fact that he wants to go over to Syria and help the Muslim Brotherhood.
But do you feel... tell me what adjective you would use to describe how you feel when you hear him saying, that's when I'm going to return.
See, for me, I find that quite upsetting. I find it upsetting because we are taught in Islam that if you are in another land that's not of like Islamic State, then you are to live by their rules. And for him to come back and try change that, I don't feel like that's acceptable. from everything that I've been taught about Islam, I don't see that as acceptable.
Usman?
But what?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, these people have an expansionist agenda. We live in this country. I was born in this country. I'm very content and happy to be a British Muslim.
Does it make you feel afraid when you hear him say that?
It doesn't make me feel afraid because I don't think we'll ever accept such a thing happening here. Anybody who tries to promote Islam by the threat of a sword should be fought. Really, I mean, it's not acceptable for people to be propagating that Islam. It has to. People are going to conquer lands through the sword. We're looking at the model of the Prophet Muhammad. His message was all about good character. His message was all about cohesion and peace and loving humanity. That's how he conquered the hearts of the people. He did not go there and, to quote, raise a black flag over their houses.
Let's just round up our conversation after the exclusive interview brought to you on 5 Live Breakfast this morning with a man calling himself Abu Osama, a young British man from the south of England who has gone to Syria who claims to fight with a group linked to Al-Qaeda. We have Imam Qari Asim, also 24-year-old Usman Nawaz, Abdul Qudas, who's 24, and 23-year-old Rahima Rahman. They've been in conversation together this morning. Qari Asim, you've written this open letter alongside various other imams, but pleading with young British men not to go and fight abroad. But who is listening to you?
Well, I think the people are listening, and mosques is one of the platforms that we're using to disseminate this message, but also social media and everything else. And given that there are over around 3 million Muslims in this country, it's a tiny minority that seems to be inclined to go to Syria to take up arms. But one is too many. I'm not saying that we need to be complacent, but the message is going out there, and it's unprecedented that Sunnis and Shias, various groups of Muslims, British Muslim leadership has come together to give out a very strong message saying that it's not safe to go out there, and secondly, it's not a holy war, and as a result, we shouldn't be taking part from Britain.
Can I ask you briefly, Usman, Abdul and Rahima, before we go to the news, do your friends, do your contemporaries, do you listen to the imam in your mosque?
I think that the pulpit is a very powerful platform. If the message is delivered in a language that people understand, it has to obviously be delivered in English, and I think this is one of the problems that we've had in the past, that a lot of these messages fall on deaf ears when they're not translated or given in a message in which people in a language people understand. So I think, given that the totally important, if people who are emotional about Syria, and it is, no doubt it's an emotional topic. What is going on out there really angers and frustrates a lot of people. But we need, providing Muslims alternatives about what they can do. Support aid convoys. This is the month of Ramadan. It's a blessed month of charitable giving. So give what you can in this month. Do something productive. Going over there and taking part in a conflict is just not acceptable.
Rahima, do you listen to the imam at your mosque?
I definitely agree with everything he's actually just said. I always do listen to the imam at my mosque, but I really do agree that it's literally what we can do now. We're using aid convoys and different groups who are going out there to support all the innocent civilians who are actually being killed along the way. But I really feel like it's an education that everybody needs to go through. Everyone needs to educate themselves about what's actually happening.
Abdul, a quick thought from you.
Yeah,
do the imams have as much influence as they used to with young British Muslim men?
Yeah, I think so, they do. I mean, I belong to the Ahmadi Muslim community, and we have young imams, the ages 23, 24 that are in the field. They're working with the youth, and I think they do have a very much positive influence on the youth. And I think we need to see more of these come across the country, where youngsters are involved, young Muslim men are involved in looking after the youth of the Islamic world in Britain. And I think they will have a positive effect, and this is happening in the Ahmadi Muslim community.
Thank you both very much. Thank you. 10:36.